Welcome to Jonas Premier. This tutorial will show you how to prepare and upload your vendor list. So let's get started. In order to help build your test company, we need to upload your chart of accounts, your customers, your vendors, etc. Today we'll focus on the vendor upload. You'll have to export a list of your subcontractors and suppliers out of your existing system into Excel and configure it within our templates. We provide you this Excel template to help you get started. Down at the bottom, you'll notice there's multiple worksheets set out in a specific order in order to make the uploads easy for you. Let's first take a look at the sample vendor list. The Excel worksheet with a list of your vendors should look very similar to something like this. Any column at the top with an asterisk is a required field. You can easily hover over any of the columns for quick tips or information on any of the requirements. For example, how many characters within a field. Next, the columns and rows shaded in a light yellow color are actually drop-down fields which will pull from information that you enter in the other tabs down below. Just a reminder that all the required fields have to be filled out or the spreadsheet will not upload properly. So let's get started in creating your customer upload list. Step 1, we need to set up the taxes. If you've already set up your taxes when preparing the customer upload and the same type of taxes apply for the vendors, you don't have to fill this out. The information entered here will also merge into the worksheet for the final vendor upload. If any new taxes are entered here, they must be created within the software before the upload is completed. Taxes can be applied to customers, vendors, and even jobs. Even if you don't have taxes, you still have to set up a zero tax group. How the taxes are set up in Premier is as follows. First thing you have to do is set up tax codes. Then you can group them together to create a tax group, and then you take that tax group and link it to your company. The reason we do it this way is because if you have multiple companies, you don't want to have to set up the taxes for every single one. In this case, you can just set up the taxes once and then choose which companies they are allocated to. First, we'll set up the tax code. This can be the tax percentage allocated to the state or province. On the left-hand side, we provide samples. However, you'll be entering the information on the right-hand side in the blue section. You can copy from the panel on the left or just manually key in the tax code that you'll be using, the description, and the percentage. You want to set up the tax codes and rates that you'll be applying to your suppliers or subcontractors. If you're not sure, you can consult with one of our trainers. The next step is to create a group, which will include the codes above. Enter in your test company or live company code, create a tax group code, give it a description, and then merge the tax codes from up above. You may have multiple tax codes within a group, or you may just have one code per group. If you don't use taxes, you will still have to create a zero tax code. Once you've created the code, you'll also have to create a zero tax group and include that code within there. The reason for this is because every customer and vendor requires some sort of tax group, even if it's zero. Now the reason we're entering it in here is because these taxes feed into the additional spreadsheets down below, which makes it easier when you're entering in the information. Great, let's move into step 2, populating vendor data. Premier requires these fields in order to populate your vendor list. These are required fields, hence your upload requires this information. Here you can select from our sample payment terms and copy and paste them on the right-hand side. Feel free to add to this list or modify any of the items. Next, enter in your purchase categories. These can be used to help filter your vendors. For example, if you want a list of all labor, meaning any employees set up, or all your material suppliers, or even filter between the different types of subcontractors, those that require certain forms like 1099s and those that don't. At the bottom is a list of vendor types. This feeds directly into the Excel worksheet and cannot be changed. When setting up a vendor, you will have to indicate what type of vendor it is. The Excel worksheets will pull from the entries entered on the right-hand side. Again, before you upload the Excel spreadsheet, these fields will have to be entered into the program in order for the upload to work properly. The trainer will help assist with this. Great job! Let's move in to the final step, which is actually populating the vendor upload. Before you start entering in data, just a reminder, you can hover over any of the columns for more information on the requirements. The shaded area pulls from the last two worksheets of information that we've entered. This is designed to make your life a lot easier, so you don't have to key in the information. You can just use the drop-down to pull from the information you entered in previously. Now you can manually enter in the information, but most often you'll copy and paste from an existing Excel spreadsheet of information you have. To get started, you'll have to enter in the vendor code. If you currently don't use a coding system for your vendors, you'll have to create one. Most businesses use the first 3 characters of the first name and the first 2 characters of the second name. Enter in the vendor name, enter in the type. This can only pull from the vendor types that are found in the vendor data sheet. You cannot add new vendor types. It has to be allocated to one of these listed. In this particular case, I'm entering in a supplier. You can also use the drop-down to pull from the list. Next, enter in the purchase category. These are the fields that you created in the previous worksheets. Select the payment terms that apply for this customer. These can be set up as defaults. However, at the point of entering in the data, you can flip which payment terms or tax groups to apply. Enter in the remainder of the required fields or any additional information that you have related to your vendors. Just a reminder, you can hover over any of the columns to get quick tips to make sure you're not making any mistakes. For example, on country, if you're in Canada, it has to be entered CA. If you're in the US, you'll have to enter a US. Same thing for Australia, you'll have to enter an AUS. If you know certain fields are going to be consistent among the entries, you can easily drag them down. Now, if there are fields that are important for you to track related to your vendors, you can create them within the Premier program under Custom Fields. Do not add any additional fields to the spreadsheet. You can continue to manually enter these, but most often, people will copy and paste from their existing Excel spreadsheet that comes out of their current accounting system. Just a reminder, if you are entering subcontractors, the type should be equal to subcontractor. On the vendor data screen, you can see the options available. If it's an employee, it should equal employee. So let's take a look at a finished product. Here I have an Excel template that I've filled out. Before uploading, I recommend copying the bottom row up until the column into a brand new worksheet. That way, if you deleted or added rows, there'll be no formatting issues when you do the upload. I would also double check to make sure that all the required fields are filled out. Even if you don't have the information, make sure you put in to be determined, TBD, as a field within there in order for the upload to work properly. Before we upload it, we recommend that our trainers review it to make sure all fields are filled out properly. Also, the fields in the shaded area are required fields and they already have to be populated in Jonas. Hence, if you created any new fields within the drop-downs, they must be added within Premier in order for the upload to work properly. Within Excel, you should see the Jonas Premier button. If you don't have this button, that means you haven't downloaded the add-in. In the quick install, there's a link that allows you to download the add-in. Over on the left, click on Login. You'll enter in the same credentials you used to log into the software. Enter in the client name, the username, and the password. You can click on that Remember Me on this computer, so next time around you only have to type in the password. At the top, click on Publish Sheet. On the left, double-click into Accounts Payable and select Vendors. Over on the right, select your company, whether it's your live or test environment, and choose Active Worksheet to update the worksheet you're currently on. This will push the information into Jonas Premier. If there are any errors or you're missing key information, the system will automatically flag you. Your last step is to log into Jonas Premier to validate that the record's uploaded properly. In the main menu, type in Vendors. This will open your list of vendors. Here you can review them, add or delete further records. I hope you enjoyed this session on how to prepare and upload your list of vendors.